So today on the podcast, I have my friend and I guess mentor in a sense, Justin Brown on here. And Justin Brown is a guy I met on Accountability Group, uh, Brandon Turner's Better Life Tribe. And
Yeah.
so shout out to Brandon Turner. But I wanted to talk to Brandon, to Brandon, to Justin about uh, what he's done, what kind of steps he's taken to become a real estate broker. I know, Justin, you're a lot of things to a lot of different people: husband,
hmm
father,
Yeah.
businessman, investor. You're the leader of the pod. So, but today, if we could talk, maybe you could add a little more information on
Sure.
what your life looks like, how you became a real estate broker, and what steps you took to get to there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Marty. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So a little bit about how I got where I'm at. So I'm the broker for Lighthouse Realty, and we are a sales company that also does property management, and that comes from our desire to just have real estate investing be kind of in the DNA of our
Okay.
organization. Um, and not that it's like the Kool-Aid or whatnot, but I think that if you're a realtor or if you're a real estate agent, you are on the front lines of real estate investing, even if it's, helping someone buy a home, that is an
Sure.
investment. So yeah, we feel like it's really important to kind of train to that higher level of real estate investing, whether it's running numbers on a multi-unit or a flip. I feel like when you learn how to do that really well, you actually are much more equipped to just perform better in the whole industry.
Sure.
So yeah, I got into real estate investing when I was an agent. And I think you specifically asked about like how I became a broker. Was that right?
Well, how long, Justin, have you had your license as an agent?
As an agent, just coming up on 10 years. And then
10 years.
yeah, about um probably like we're coming up on 3 years as a broker.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide I want to go from agent to broker?
Yeah. Um Specifically, there's a couple things. My first brokerage and my only other brokerage was fantastic. It was very supportive, but there was not a lot of insight onto real estate investing
Hmm.
specifically. It was more like, oh yeah, you can take investors out, and it was kind of like good luck, and like, oh, I think so and so does that here. And there was like a couple agents in our office that were a little more experienced, but like no one like was doing it themselves. Like no one, like I think maybe one or two agents might have had like one or two flips, but like no one had
Okay.
it dialed in. Um, so then I actually I got more into helping real estate investors when I wanted to do it myself, and I will get to kind of the jump to being a broker. I wanted to do it myself. Ended up meeting this guy, Rich, who ended up being one of my mentors, but I also partnered with him on this office
Okay.
building, and to get some people through the door. It was kind of like renting by the office and also like a co-working space. We
Hmm.
hosted a meetup from Bigger Pockets, and we're like, we just were using it kind of as an excuse to get people together. And then through that, I learned more about real estate investing. And so I was helping clients buy rental properties, some burrs, and I just felt like I was helping them for like the beginning part of the story. And then
Okay.
when it like they closed on it and I wanted to help them be successful, I was kind of like handing them off to, maybe another property manager, or someone who like I just kind of would hope that the story would end well. And I,
And
wanted to
that
build those relationships. So I really wanted to kind of carry that through all the way to the finish.
so that's you as an agent,
As
right?
an agent, yeah. So then wanting to
And then
do, go ahead.
so you started the brokerage really to hone in on that? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, to hone in to be allowed to do property management, and my current brokerage didn't do property management.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And then also along the way, I had kind of crafted the concept of like, what does it mean to be a lighthouse realtor, or
Okay.
agent? And the the idea there was kind of a model that I wanted to take my clients through, and it was just something I felt really
Hmm.
passionate about. That I was like, kind of both the property management piece, but also just that idea of finishing the story, was where I was like, I really need to do this for myself. And yeah, I have something that I have a process, and I have a a method that I really want to share with other people. And so that's where,
Sure.
yeah, I decided to become a broker. It wasn't easy. It was like, but it was, I could just tell it was the right thing to do, as the next step. Um, so yeah.
Let me. You specifically wanted to do property management, so you became a broker so you could do that. How did you learn property management? Did you have rentals yourself, or did you just go out and start doing it?
Yeah. I had, yes. And it was actually, my plan was to kind of like scale my portfolio, at the like same rate as the management. But I also like realized that I couldn't buy as many as I could pick up management wise. So I'm like, probably
Oh, okay.
manage about four times as what I own. But I own 18 units now. And yeah, I got those. I was learning it, boots on the ground myself, before I started managing for other people. Um, but some of it was just like, I'm doing it for myself. I should, if I almost added like kind of a layer of accountability by saying
Hmm.
that I wanted to do management, because if I wanted to mess around in my own units, no problem. But like I said, if I want to do this to this level, I need to really learn it. And so yeah, it was pretty soon into buying my own portfolio that I was like, I want to learn this to the level where I can do this professionally.
I really like that level of accountability you gave yourself, um, because a lot of times, we don't continue to grow. We don't, 10x is easier than 2x, if you will. It's easier for you to grow that property management business by doing it for other people because then you put systems in place, right?
Right.
And are more accountable for the actions rather than managing 5 or 6 or 10 doors or even 20 doors on your own. You can be more loosey goosey because it's yours.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even the scale, I like breaking things. Like I like, you know, just stress testing something to see like, okay, what's
Yeah,
gonna not work? Because I'm like, I could have this dialed in at 30, but I don't want to be at 30. I want to be at
sure.
100 or whatever. And not that I'm using other people to, like mess around, but it's saying like, if I'm gonna do this to this level, I need to be thinking about these things ahead of time. So like kind of almost like before we have 200 units, saying what's the problem here. We manage about 80 units right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's it's trying to almost like begin with the end in mind and reverse engineer it. But yeah, knowing again that, and this was kind of part where I kind of, I'll call ourselves a sales company that does property management, not a property
Hmm.
management company that does sales. Um,
Sure.
but we we could just manage it, charge a ton, and just like run the property in the ground. But that's not like looking at one of our investors' future. We want to manage it efficiently, effectively, where they have the margin to then go buy another one and, really, play a role in their wealth building. And that's really
Yeah.
big for us in terms of, again, the lighthouse model, but like, which we can dive into in a little bit. But yeah, that that it's subtle, but like the fact that we're beginning with their end in mind, and we're doing
Hmm.
that discovery work with our client of like, where are you trying to go, is it's not just about that property. Because someone might come to us and be like, hey, I really want you to manage this property, and we could, just not do it very well and cost them a lot of money, and then
Yeah.
they're not set up for success for the next one. So but by us telling them like, we're looking at your long-term goals, it's making sure that we are held to that additional layer of accountability.
Justin, in learning property management, what was your go-to resource for that? Did you have a book or podcast or?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that property management is actually, a lot of times people think of it as maintenance.
Hmm.
And I think it's so much more than that.
Hmm.
So, but I would say it was just rubbing shoulders with the people at our meetup. I know like there's a
Okay.
few people that Christine, Shelby, Nick, like there's folks that I just were on speed dial. Like, what do you do about this? And what do you do about this? And
Okay.
I had to be really transparent, vulnerable, and humble because you know, you talked about this over and over and over at the meetup, but then when the rubber hits the road, it's like, shoot, like I don't know what to do about, you know, sewer backup or whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, but like early on, like a lot of those things happened, and then you learn like, oh, this wasn't that hard. You also learn that you can't know everything. Like,
Sure.
and I think you get a little bit of thick skin as a realtor, because when you're an agent for somebody and you do, I don't know, even like 25 deals, you realize that it's not like there's certain things that you're going to dial in and there's certain things that you just can't control. And like every deal is different. And so every property is
Sure.
different and you can't, you can systematize the crap out of it. But at some point you're just going to have to know, I need a general handyman who I get
Hmm.
his opinion. And I kind of like, I probably adopted Henry Ford's mentality on this early on is like,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to manage 100 units myself. So why am I trying to even manage 20 myself? Why don't I
Yeah.
engage with those partners early on, so that I'm not trying to retain all this information in my head and learn all this stuff that I would eventually sub out anyway.
Yeah.
So I think just partnerships, people, trusting other people, but then also knowing like new stuff's going to come up. I can't like control that, and I just got to be open to that and trust other people. So yeah.
For me as I started getting in real estate, that was what I realized was I was a manager, right? I was a manager of a tenant's money, getting it to the bank, and is other people's money, and I realized it was a management thing. A book I read, I don't know if you've heard of it or read it, but Mike Butler's book, Landlording on Autopilot.
I have heard of it. Yeah, I haven't read it myself.
It's a really good one. But Brandon Turner, his property management book, he quotes Mike all the time in there,
Yeah, I
and it's
did read
very similar.
Brandon's. Yeah.
Yeah. But that for me, and I don't property manage for other people, but I realized something different in regards to just being an investor is I had to learn to manage well.
Mm,
Um, and probably my one of my key takeaways from Mike Butler was viewing your tenants like a boss views an employee, right?
mm,
When you hire somebody, you communicate expectations up front.
yep.
And when they fulfill those communications, then great things happen. But when they don't, then there's consequences.
Yeah.
And so that was what helped because I started off terrible as a property manager, tenants taking advantage of me and
Yeah.
getting 2-3 months behind. And uh but yeah, realizing communicate expectations up front, view them as an employee. Would I hire this person or would I not hire the person to do this task?
Yep.
Um, so anyway, a little side note there, but that was uh, that was a big thing for me in regards to property management.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, there's, there's a lot of different like little lessons like that where you're communicating individually
Hmm.
but yeah, setting expectations up front when we did that better, like just things got easier. Even just like when to file on somebody. And
Yeah.
I actually remember felt sheepish about that for a little while because I hadn't filed on anybody and I was doing management. And then I was like, I guess that's not a bad thing. But then we added a little bit more volume and it was like it became and I was like so deathly afraid of like filing on somebody. And then when I did it for the first time, like the guy actually came with the keys. He's like, I'm out. And we're like, oh, I guess that was easy. And then the next time but I learned that like just those expectations and like sometimes it's not the end of the world to go to court and just have them realize
Hmm.
like, oh, there is an expectation here. I even talked to the one constable who does like the lockouts, and he was like, some people don't realize it's for real until I show up. And they're like,
Hmm.
I thought you were just joking. Like he's like literally heard people say that. Like he's like, no,
Really?
like I am locking you out of your apartment now. So when you can set those expectations up front, it's so much more serving to everybody.
Hmm.
And yeah, then everybody wins.
So talk to me about Lighthouse and kind of your thesis and
Sure.
what you guys are all about out there.
Yeah. So lighthouses rule, first off. They're the only fortress that exist that protect people on the inside and on the outside.
Hmm.
So if it were a pile of sticks, it wouldn't be there very long to protect the lighthouse keeper. However, the lighthouse keeper wouldn't be there if it weren't for the ships passing by that need protection at night.
Okay.
And so that concept kind of had me thinking through. I don't know when that struck me exactly, but just that idea of like, how can we become lighthouse keepers ourselves? And that's the idea, is like
Hmm.
us climbing the steps and turning on, lighting that lamp um, for others to see. And what does that look like? And so it's kind of this idea of yeah, being very intentional with where you want to go, where you want to serve, how you want to have an impact. And
Hmm.
so we broke it down into 4 steps, and they go seeker, buyer, owner, keeper. Um, so the first one is seeking a way to serve. The next one
Okay.
is buying into the plan, owning the mess, and then keeping the light burning. Um, so with the where that the steps came up was, I actually got to go to 10x Growth Con in 2019, and it was a sub point of John Damon's talk, where he said, "Don't discredit your window shoppers," and
Hmm.
it kind of got me thinking about who are the window shoppers of real estate, um, because in his thesis that I really agreed with and it really resonated with me, is that when you don't downplay your window shoppers or like patronize them. You treat them with integrity and with respect and dignity. He's like, they will resonate with that and be your biggest advertisement before they even come back in and buy whatever it is that they were looking at. Um,
Yeah.
so again, I thought, who's the window shoppers of real estate? It's like people don't have good credit, people don't have any money, but they want to be guided into how do they take this big next step. Um,
Hmm.
and so what would it look like for us to, and you kind of meet, well, really what I wanted to do is put a finger on what is it that good realtors who give people a chance, what is it that they're doing? And they follow this process. And
Yep.
essentially it's the seeker phase is like, what are you trying to accomplish? And if we can paint that vivid picture of what you want to do, it will make it so much easier for you to go out and tackle your bad credit or save that money that you need for the down payment if you have a clear picture in your head of what you're
Yep.
trying to do. So really, it's that kind of like begin with the end in mind idea of like, what lighthouse is it that you want to walk up and turn the lamp on? What way do you want to serve? How do you want to have an impact? And so that phase is marked by discovery, and that's a lot of like internal looking, looking at who you are, what do you want to be, where do you want to go, and then when you do that work, your actions are so much more grounded, because it's not just well, this is what I felt like. It's like, no, I knew that
Hmm.
this is where I wanted to go, and now I can build a customized plan on how to do that. So then you have the buying into the plan, and that's just marked by taking action, massive amounts of action. Um, so
Let me hop in here,
yeah,
Justin. That it's really cool what you're doing. And is this with your tenants, investors, or with your
so it
team?
starts with our team, our agents, and then our agents share this with our investors, our clients. We would like to figure out a way where we could share this with our tenants as well, in terms of like, do you want to be in an apartment forever? Could we offer some financial literacy classes? I think there's also like, don't get me wrong, just because you're a tenant doesn't mean that you don't know how to handle money. That sounds wrong. But just, sometimes you could be kind of stuck
No,
if you're not sure where to go from here. Um, so yeah,
I agree. As you were talking, that's what I was thinking. Like talking about knowing where you want to go could apply to all those, whether it's someone you got working for you, the investor, are you looking for cash flow so you can buy another one?
yeah,
But it could, and I love it when we have tenants that move out because they bought a house. But
absolutely.
you could also be that as well. You could say, hey, I work with these lenders. Um, Is it your plan to rent for the next 20 years? If so, that's great. What can I do to make the house better?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if it's not and you're looking for a house, what kind of house you want? I would love to help you with that. And I'd love to talk to you about, yeah, so that's really cool.
Absolutely.
And it really kind of goes with our podcast here of living intentionally, because
Mm,
whether it's the tenant, agent, or investor, you guys as Lighthouse get to help people do that, right? You're
absolutely.
protecting from the inside and the outside, but you guys are the mediator in the middle that's helping them live out their full potential and not just drift through life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Drifting is, like a nautical term there, and that's exactly it. We want to help people